Hi, everybody. I'm Gwendolyn Sterk, and I'm here with Dr. Terry McCormick of Konick Associates. They have offices in Naperville and Orland Park, Illinois. And we're going to talk about co-parenting today. It's really a hot subject because it's a difficult issue for a lot of people. So first of all, Terry, tell us what kind of services are available to people when they're struggling with this issue of parenting, co-parenting, and dealing with children.
Sure. Thanks, Gwen. So with the parenting, co-parenting, we offer either individual, couples, or family counseling to kind of assist that family through that transition and learn those skills and how to effectively communicate with one another. So it becomes assertive, respectful communication versus maybe conflicting,
Sure.
very, high conflict. So we work, like I said, helping the individual process the divorce, process the separation, the life transition, and then meet with the parents as a team, helping them build the skills that they need to be present for their children and take the focus off of themselves at that moment and how can they make it work with the best needs of their child in place. And then also with the children, helping them understand what is transpiring in the change in the family dynamics and how they're still safe and they're still secure because they need that knowledge and that structure there.
Sure. So it's really changing the family dynamic of counseling. It's going from that reconciliation or working on the relationship to, hey, this is the way it is. We're going to be divorced. We're going to be separated, but how can we co-parent our children and how can we best communicate with the children and really involve them in the process? Would that be a good overall summary of what you're trying to accomplish within this co-parenting structure?
Definitely. I think that you hit it perfectly. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Now, I think that some people don't have the insight to understand the effect that trauma from a divorce and people struggling and arguing and not co-parenting well can really have on children. Can you speak to that?
Sure, I'd love to. I think sometimes it goes unnoticed with that transition that's happening in the household. There's so many raw emotions that are going on. And oftentimes the children then are in an environment with that high conflict, with a parent who is struggling to continue to take care of their obligations to the family, but now they're doing it independently. So probably, adjusting to the loss maybe of finances and trying to manage children's activities and balance work life, and oftentimes get caught up in just being in survival mode. So the long-term effects then on the children is their parent being emotionally absent, to say, or dismissive, is then going to affect that child with their attachment style. So they're going to move away from that secure, healthy attachment style, possibly into an attachment style that is insecure or anxious or avoidant. And then that is going to cause them later on in life, as they move into adulthood, difficulties in their own interpersonal relationships, whether that be intimate or otherwise. They're not going to have that security within that relationship. So they may become too clingy, too needy, or a fear of abandonment, or they might express themselves sometimes with anger and rage, or if they are dismissive and avoidant, perhaps they're going to withdraw. When things get too close, they're not going to know what to do with that bond, and then they're going to pull away. As far as when they're little, what you see oftentimes, and even through adolescence, is you see anxiety start to appear. They're excessively worried, they're anxious, they're nervous, excuse me, or depression, or just that lack of motivation. You might even see them act out. They might even start to become truant from school or lacking motivation to attend school. They might vandalize. They might increase a sense of entitlement because maybe they go to one parent who has limited parenting time, and that parent wants to just shower them with everything because they have such limited time with them, building up that entitlement. And so that too, down the road, is going to have an effect on how they interact in society and amongst their internal world.
So not dealing with it can have lifelong consequences on your children is what I'm hearing from you.
Correct.
And I think that that's an issue that people, have a hard time addressing. And I understand, it's difficult. You're getting a divorce. you thought that you were going to be married forever to this individual, and now you have to change your relationship to them from one of, being in love with them to now maybe hating their activities and now causing a divorce to now one of, oh my gosh, I got to get along with this person and I have to co-parent. So I think people have a difficulty with that transition. Would you agree?
I would agree. And there's some options too. If you are um, working with a partner, an ex-partner, where there is that high conflict or that inability to progress and come to a resolution amongst yourselves, there are some ways to manage that so you don't have to sit with all of that raw emotion where it just keeps bubbling up. And some of those options are perhaps if co-parenting isn't going to work, where you're unable to have that open communication, perhaps parallel parenting,
Okay.
where you're following the guidelines of your custody order. However, the day-to-day activities are independent in your homes. When it comes to viewing the major factors, religion, medical, education, at that point in time, if you're unable to have movement, then that's when you would seek legal
Sure.
counsel and see what the next steps in that would be. And also what I have found with parents who really struggle with the co-parenting, because they might have that resistant partner, so to speak, are the wonderful sites like Our Family Wizard or Talking Parent. It actually gives you a little thermometer, I can't speak, where it'll tell you when you're typing your message if you're being too aggressive. And then you take that stop and think, pause, that breath, and you can take it off and then send a message where it's more business-like, it's more matter of fact.
Correct. And I'm always telling people, parents especially, moving the relationship to a business relationship is often a good way to handle yourself, because it then gets your child in a mode where this is just an exchange. We're only dealing with business. We're not yelling. We're not getting that tension in place. And then moving out and setting a boundary to say, okay, this is the time frame I'm going to deal with it. And then I can do, like the parallel parenting, my own thing during my own time. So these are all tools. And I think people need to understand how to implement those tools. So basically, your co-parenting training or your parallel parenting training, it could be with the entire family structure, but it could simply be coaching one individual parent to say, this is how you should view it and this is how you should handle it. Would you agree with that as well?
I would agree with it. And then that gives you that more emotional response to your children. You put the focus back on the children versus continuing the conflict with your ex-partner. And
Right.
like we were talking about earlier, the long-term trauma. So now the focus, you're emotionally present for your child.
Right. And it allows you to really parent the child then and have that relationship. And I think that that's the impact. And, I heard a judge earlier this week say to someone, do you not understand the consequences that your behavior, maybe it's not directly affecting the children, but it is indirectly something that's affecting them. And those consequences are really significant. And I thought that was really good insight, but I don't think that people understand. They perceive it through their own window pane and they don't see it through their eyes of their child. So I think counseling is a good way to kind of pivot and reset to understand the impact it could have on somebody else.
Definitely. And I think you brought up an excellent point. It's helping that individual who's suffering gain insight and awareness. They're struggling, help them heal that, and then help them once again refocus.
Right. And I think the other thing that's important to do is that, you can only be responsible for your own behavior. You can't be responsible for the other side's behavior, but that doesn't mean that you should then go in the mode of responding in the manner in which they respond. You stay focused on what you need to do, and then you try to turn it into a positive from there.
I'm in complete agreement, and that is it. It's what's under your control versus what's outside of your control.
Now, do you have parenting classes or any other kind of structure that's available for parents?
At this point in time, it's the counseling, the couples counseling or co-parenting counseling, individual or family. As far as parenting groups, that is something that I would like to get up and running. Once maybe we come out of COVID, I think that would be a nice face-to-face interaction amongst parents.
Absolutely. And, I think that today, given society, it's not just the divorce, there's other things, like COVID that are affecting children and the home structure. and life has really been turned upside down. And I don't know that we'll ever get back to the way it was. As a matter of fact, I don't think it will ever return. And having those adjustments as well and understanding the impact that that had is important as well. So how do people get a hold of you? How do they take that first step? Maybe they're saying to their, loved one, we're going to get a divorce. We got to take the first step to learn how to parent. And by the way, I think that's the best investment you can make.
Sure, they can go to our website at Konick Associates, and on there, once again, excuse me, on the website, if they want, they can fill out a new client request if they don't feel comfortable making that phone call, or they can always reach out to us via phone, and our office manager will be more than happy to connect them with one of the clinicians in the office that would best match their needs.
Very good. And your phone number then that you can give to everybody?
Our phone number, it's 630-206-4060.
And again, if you're listening today and you're struggling with these issues and maybe you want to go to co-parenting classes or counseling, or maybe you're going yourself and you still have issues that aren't resolved and you need to address it through the legal system, you can contact us as well. We give a free consultation, and we are believers that you have to take a holistic approach to solving the problems. The legal system alone is not going to solve your life problems. You have to get a community together, and starting with counseling and co-parenting training is really an essential element. So thanks for your time, Dr. McCormick, today. We really appreciate giving this information out.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.